31 years ago, there was an element that looked like an accident for secular people. But for me, a person of a religious worldview, it was the true Lord's miracle. For a long time, in the eyes of the world, Kyiv was an unattractive Nazareth from which nothing good can come. Ukraine will join the European community, bringing the new moral energy and the new experience valuable for the whole world.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euroatlantic Course. My name is Anton Pechenkin, and today we will talk why is independent Ukraine so important for the Western democracy. If you want to know more, please subscribe to our channel to stay tuned and support us with your likes and commentaries. We read attentively every one of them. First of all, I must admit that today, on August 29, the Ukrainian army started the strategic counteroffensive on the south of the country in the occupied Kherson region. During these more than 6 months of the full-scale war, all Ukrainians as a nation proved that we are much more sustainable and grounded than even many friends of Ukraine has expected. This war seems to last in future for a long time, but Ukrainian victories wouldn't be possible without two things. First of all, our people's devotion to the independence, and second but not the least, the help from our friends all over the world. So, today we will discuss why Ukraine is so important for the free world and why Ukraine is fighting not only for itself, but for many other nations, endangered not only by the Russian imperialism, but also by other modern predators. Our guest today is Myroslav Marynovych, who in Soviet times has been a dissident and a founding member of the Ukrainian Helsinki Group, and now he is the vice-rector of the Ukrainian Catholic University. In the first part of his speech, Mr. Marynovych explains how the uneasy struggle for the country's independence led us to the point where we are standing just now at the full-scale war for Ukrainians' very existence.
Let me highlight the three aspects of the Ukrainian statehood which might be important for our foreign partners. First, the history of the country's independence really has a number of important milestones. And speaking metaphorically, each event seems to tear off another seal of slavery from the Ukrainian people. Already in modern times, a central milestone was the promulgation of the Act of Independence by the Verkhovna Rada, which was soon confirmed in the all-Ukrainian referendum on December 1st, 1991. The collapse of the USSR was rather impressive. For Putin, it meant the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. Another seal was torn off by the Orange Revolution of the year 2004, an event that no longer had analogues in Russian history. And nonviolent character of this revolution did impress the entire world community. One more seal fell under the onslaught of the Revolution of Dignity of the year 2013-14. According to Adam Michnik, the Revolution of Dignity was the greatest moment on manifestation of the meanings of European values. However, Russia realized a little more, and it would lose Ukraine forever. And having started the war against Ukraine, Russia is tearing down today, hopefully, the last seal of liberation of the Ukrainian people. The Kremlin went wa-bank, but it could no longer restrain the will of Providence. Second point, the proclamation of independence became possible due to a number of favorable factors. Firstly, the history of Ukraine is similar to a long-distance relay race, during which runners hand each other the relay button. We Ukrainians look back on history and see more and more generations of fighters who inspire each other. In this sense, the current independence is the cumulative effect of multiple efforts. However, the proclamation of independence became at the same time a unique event because it marked a temporary consensus among the National Democrats, socially concerned Donbas miners, and communists, that is, the ruling elites. The uniqueness lies precisely in this. The Ukrainian communists, who have always supported Moscow, at this historical moment wanted to defend themselves from it. And this consensus turned out to be victorious. Let me mention also that 31 years ago, there was an element that looked like an accident for secular people. But for me, a person of a religious worldview, it was the true Lord's miracle. I mean the fact that the Soviet Union collapsed in a nonviolent way without blood. Ukrainians confirmed their independence with a stroke of a pen in a referendum on December the 1st, 1991. And the current war is a different story. This is the result of the phantom pains of the Russian Empire camouflaged as a federation.
Having portrayed this way from slavery to freedom, Myroslav Marynovych turns to the most crucial part of his speech, why Ukraine is really needed to the European and Euroatlantic community. First of all, mentions Mr. Marynovych, because Ukraine on the dawn of its independence was perceived by the many in the West as a kind of black hole, because too many credits were given to Russia as the main guarantee of stability in the east of the Europe. For example, these considerations led to the Budapest Memorandum, to agreement according to which Ukraine abandoned all its nuclear weapons to Russia in 1994 in exchange for some abstract guarantees. And now it's the same Russia who uses the nuclear weapons, partly those received from Ukraine, to blackmail and to threaten the whole world.
And finally, the third point. For a long time, in the eyes of the world, Kyiv was an unattractive Nazareth from which nothing good can come. We see the inertia of this perception even today, since the world still doesn't see Ukraine as an important element of the future security structure of the world. In 1994, the world nuclear powers considered it safer to transfer Ukrainian's nuclear arsenal to Russia, believing that the latter would be the guarantor of peace in this part of Europe. And they were wrong, because it is Russia that is waging war today, committing terrible war crimes, and resorting to outright nuclear blackmail. However, the sufferings of the Ukrainian people will not be in vain. They will become a crucible in which the state, national, and moral subjectivity of Ukraine matures. Moreover, the image of Ukraine will also change. The country will cease to be an internal troublemaker or an internal petitioner. Ukraine will join the European community, bringing the new moral energy and the new experience valuable for the whole world.
You have been watching this special project by Ukraine Media Center and NGO Euroatlantic Course dedicated to the Russia-Ukraine war, Ukraine in Flames. In description under this video, you can also find information how personally you can help Ukraine to struggle for its independence. And if you find our job interesting and useful, don't hesitate to like and share this video. Thank you for watching, and everything is gonna be Ukraine.